This is Boxing Tickets, and we are delighted to be joined by the one and only Charles McDonagh. Charles, we're obviously 2 weeks out from you making your professional debut. Obviously, just watching a training session there this morning. How are you feeling? Obviously, ahead of your professional debut.
No, I'm feeling great. I'm buzzing. I can't wait for it. It's been a long time in the works of turning pro, so again, I just can't wait for it.
I guess it's like anything. It's sort of, I know you've obviously been an amateur and everything else. Like, does it sort of feel like you're starting out again as a professional? Does it feel like it's putting the gloves on again for the first time, but it's like a different coat?
Well, not really, because none of my training really changed. I was always training like a pro because I was training with D, and obviously the rest of the boys, Conor and padraig. So kind of training-wise, it's just kind of been the same. But obviously when I go to fight, it'd be far different. But training-wise, everything's just kind of been the same, that type of way.
And you're 20 years of age, is that
20, yep.
So obviously talking about obviously whenever you first started out, what age did you start?
So I first started at boxing club at 7, but obviously before that, my father, he done wee bits and pieces with me when I was young. So I boxed at 7, and then first fight was 11. So I was in Cookstown Boxing Club for 9 years, and then I joined D there 3 years ago, and I've been with D ever since then.
Obviously, how did you find, obviously I guess it's still very fresh for you, obviously 20 years of age, obviously it's like half your life sort of.
Yeah.
Like, how did you sort of find, where you're saying you've obviously had a style suited to the pro ranks, How did you sort of find growing up with the amateurs? Did you always, at what stage did you probably maybe have in your head you were going to go pro?
See, I had it from I was very young. Like I remember, my father used to watch the boxing on the TV. It was always a goal from a young child to go pro. And obviously then when joining D, knowing D was a professional coach and all, it kind of made the dream a bit more better coming. I knew, right, I'm at that stage now in a few years' time, maybe 20, 19, whatever it was, I'll go pro. So it's great.
Who did you sort of look up to in your younger days, obviously watching TV, watching the boxing stuff with your dad? Who did you look up to sort of in the sport as your sort of idol you wanted to compare yourself to?
See, I love watching, and even back then, Marvin Haggler, great southpaw, likes of him, Lovachenko, all them type of boys, especially in their amateur career. Lovachenko was just great, especially a southpaw like myself. So I looked up to them type of boys growing up.
It's obviously, I guess it's the greats. Like obviously you as a young one, obviously probably people sort of go, oh, there's going to be like a Frampton, a Burnett, or like a Ricky Hatton sort of thing. Like the older style boxing. Is that what you're more fascinated on, the older style, where obviously probably wasn't as much technique as there was now, just brutal force?
Like I grew up, we watched a lot of the old fights, especially the Four Kings of the middleweight. But then obviously watching Frampton, Michael Conlan, all them boys growing up now, it's been looking up to them as well, especially their amateur career and what they've done in professional ranks, which is good.
You obviously an amateur, obviously I can remember, obviously it wasn't that long ago, sort of weird circumstance where you were 30 seconds into obviously a fight and it was stopped in a cut and you lost the fight, and sort of, judging sort of how you can judge a fight in 30 seconds. Like,
it was pre-judged, something I never heard about in my life. Even my coach at the time, Jared McCrory from St. John's Bosco, like he's been in boxing so many years now, and he said he's never heard that in his life. So it was a tough one to take in, especially when I won 3 fights to get to the final, and for the fight to be stopped like that, it's one of them ones. But again, I learned from it. There was things I've took away from that, I've put into my training. So it's all learning the way I look at it, from all my fights.
You've sort of had them, the heartbreaks, sort of losing fights you should have won and everything else. Like, is them sort of circumstances, is that helping you now coming into the pros? Because we know it's a completely different sport. Obviously amateur boxing stinks probably more so than professional boxing. And we've seen recently Sean McComb, but do you sort of put that as experience behind you? Do you sort of know it's a completely different sport you're getting into, but it's built the experience which would make you a better person? Yeah,
so like with my losses, I don't really count them as losses, I count them as learning. Every loss I've took, I've always picked up something, just for example, like one fight it mightn't have enough tempo in it, but I knew for the next time when I fought, me and my father, coaches, we worked on my tempo. So I've always picked up different things from losses, even winning too, picked up different things to help me improve overall, because I knew myself I didn't want to be an amateur till 26, 27. I always knew I wanted to turn pro. So I used the amateurs as kind of a learning experience to turn pro, you know.
And like the last couple of years, obviously being here with Dee, was that always the plan then? Obviously, when you're having the likes of Paddy and Conor Quinn, and you know, you've had Owen and Colm Murphy and stuff here in the past as well. Like, is that got you to this stage now where you had it in your head you wanted to be a pro? Has that made it more real for you?
Yeah. So especially the first year training with Dee and all, then he invited me to train with the pros as well, train with them. And then Dee was always saying to me as well, you know, it won't be too long till you're a pro yourself. Now just doing it, it's just so good to finally get over that, because I've, like as I said, it's been a dream since so young, and you know, it was in my head last year to turn pro, but I'm glad I didn't, because I got more experience in amateurs and it's probably helped me a lot more. So now when I turn pro, I'll be more better at it.
And is your nickname the Dream as well?
The Dream, yeah. So funny enough, that came across from Dee. So we're at the Dublin fighting in All Irelands, and then he just out of nowhere just said, "Give me a nickname, Charles the Dream McDonagh." It kind of just stuck with me then, you know. So.
And obviously, as you grew up, obviously in the pro ranks now as well, you're always going to remember that name as well.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, you know, where it sort of came from, and you know, your dream was to be a professional boxer.
Yeah.
And now you're living your dream.
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. It's great.
I guess we've obviously just had Anto Cacace, obviously won the ABF title there in Riyadh. I was sort of speaking to you before you started training this morning, but like, in effect now, do you know that, you know, do you sort of look up to, you know, the Anto? I guess people's going to look up to what sacrifice and stuff he's been through the last 12 years.
Yeah.
Was 8 fights now in 7 years. Like, what sort of impact will that sort of have for you now, knowing that we already have a world champion male boxer?
Oh no, it definitely drives me more too, because seeing someone local do it, you know, it's definitely, especially any boxer and professional, like it gives us that goal now, you know, he's done it, you know, what's stopping us as well? You know, fair play to him, like he had a tough time, only so many fights in so long, so it definitely inspires you to, you know, that's the goal I want to get to. You know, I definitely look up to him, and hats off to him, because it was some win.
I think everybody's buzzing now.
Yeah,
wants
you
to
know.
fight, and I guess for you making your professional debut as well, you're sort of going,
yeah,
the gloves on, let's
yeah.
go for it. Obviously the influence as well, obviously you have in the gym with, you know, Paddy and obviously Conor, and you've obviously John Boyd obviously recently made his debut as well. Like, what sort of impact are these guys sort of having as you're switching across?
But yeah, so like the sparring with them is good, you know, it's a lot different compared to, you know, your sparring with your amateurs, like there's their different styles. So I definitely felt the sparring with the likes of Conor, John Boyle, padraig has helped me improve my style a lot more, to slow the pace down, to be able to compete in the professional ranks, you know, so it has.
And obviously, you know, how did the sign-in pro come about? You're obviously making your debut 13 days time, obviously on the St Andrews Sporting Club show in Scotland. So how did that sort of link up with Ian Wilson come about?
So I travelled to Scotland in December time with the Ulster team, and just a bit of sparring camp, and I was sparring Willie Lemon's son that recently passed, sparring Jake. So then after we were talking, and he actually introduced me to Craig Daugherty, who's going to be my other coach when I turn pro here, or when I fight. And so we exchanged numbers, and he invited me back over to do a bit more sparring and a bit of training with him. And then he introduced me to Ian. And at the time, it wasn't really, obviously I wanted to turn pro, but at the time I was kind of interested in going to maybe the under-22s in July. And so we talked, like he gave me options, he told me to go and talk to other people and stuff like that. So then I went home, and it was playing in my mind the whole time, you know, like as I wanted to always go pro, and I have the opportunity here to do it. And I don't know, I just felt in the past few fights that's happened to me was a waste of my time. But now a few months in amateurs where I could have 2 pro fights by that time. So then I phoned Ian, and I says, you know, I want to do this. So the first thing he says, he set me up sparring with his Scottish champion. So he watched me sparring him, and he was impressed with me. And then he sent me out a contract, and then we got the ball rolling from there.
How does it feel now to say that I guess until you obviously get in the ring as a
Yeah.
professional, you probably won't feel like one. Like, how does it feel now where the dream is becoming reality?
It's so strange, because, you know, when you're phoned up, you know, for the doctor's appointment and stuff, and they say, you're a professional boxer. It doesn't feel real saying it. You know, obviously until I get my couple of fights over me, but it's a class feeling. So it is.
Everybody obviously on now think you're a millionaire. Obviously, everybody thinks when you turn to a professional boxer, you're a millionaire. So, like, I guess it's squashing that theory straight away. Like,
Yeah.
Have you signed any autographs yet since you've turned pro?
No, funny enough, I had a first fan photo there a couple of weeks ago over in Scotland, and that was it. So I haven't signed nothing or anything yet.
I think it's a thing in the Irish in this that we're always too real. Like somebody's going to ask you for your autograph, and you're going, "What do you want my autograph for?"
Yeah.
But, like, you know, I can remember obviously I'm obviously a lot older than you, but obviously I wanted to be a professional footballer when I grew up, and I obviously used to sit and practice my signature. Have you practiced your signature?
I've been doing that. Funny enough, I've been practicing doing that, so I have, just in case someone comes up and says, "Can you sign this for me?" But yeah.
I remember Paddy obviously started doing autographs at the start. His signature was terrible. It's improved over time, but obviously it's something you have to be prepared for. You're making your debut on say the 6th of June. You've a Mexican opponent for your debut. You're going to be fighting Christian Lopez Flores. What better way to obviously start and obviously to have a Mexican on your debut?
You know, he's a tough opponent. You know, I've watched a few of his fights. You know, he's definitely he's going to come to fight. You know, the Mexicans, they're tough nuts. So it's going to be a very good learning fight for me, especially getting the win. You know, if a stoppage comes, it comes. But I'm happy with a points win. I just want to each fight improve and obviously win.
Talk to us obviously about your style. Obviously as a boxer, obviously I've seen you obviously hitting the pads and stuff like that with as well. Obviously you're southpaw, you seem very slick. What sort of style can people expect to get to know of Charles McDonagh?
Just a slick southpaw, you know. I'm able to box, and if I need to get into a dog fight, I'm able to do that as well. But I will stick to my boxing 9 out of 10 times, so I would.
And obviously sponsorship obviously plays an important part, obviously particularly with you fighting in Scotland and everything else. Like, do you have any sponsors on board already you want to give them a shout out?
At the moment I only have one, and he's my sports therapist, Paul Feeney. So anytime any injuries or even just looking after me come up to this fight, he books me in and sorts me out. So that's the only person I have on board at the moment.
I'm sure obviously the people at Dungannon will get behind you.
Yeah.
You know, there's plenty of businesses there have supported, obviously people like Conrad and McGoldrick and stuff in the past. So,
yeah.
You've obviously feargal McCrory, obviously.
That's right, fighting for a world title here.
Fighting for a world title in 5 weeks' time as well, so that might make it even more real.
Yeah.
That obviously a fellow County Tyrone fellow.
Yeah. No, it's good. It's good having the lads like Conrad and feargal. You know, yeah, definitely. They've watching them. You know, it definitely has a impact on me. You know, wanting to go pro, and especially seeing feargal. You know, he was very unlucky during COVID, you know, with his fights, and seeing him now get a world title shot, it's great to see. Again, it's like Anthony, like seeing him win the world title, it's definitely inspired me. You know, the goal is real, I can do this, you know. So it's great to see.
Where would you sort of set your ambitions, obviously, you know, probably for the rest of this year and sort of next year, like how active do you want to be?
Again, just kind of as active Ian wants me, you know. Maybe 3-4 fights a year, something like that. You know, whatever he says, I'm going to listen to him because I put my trust in him. So he's my manager, and just listen to him.
Is there anybody you want to give a shout out to?
No.
Put you in the spot.
Well, no, I just want to thank all my past coaches. You know, like Cookstown, St John Bosco, and even my father too. You know, he's helped me, coach me from a very young age as well. So just I want to thank all the coaches, and everyone has had an impact on this career this journey so far. You know.
There we go. That's the first interview out of the way now.
Yeah, so it's a bit nervous, saying it, but.
But look, obviously, all the very best of luck, obviously, on your debut, and obviously it's in just under 2 weeks' time, and no doubt we'll catch up with you very soon.
Yep, thank you. All right.
Cheers, Charles. Thank you.